Another unusual and unconventional repair. I've never done anything like this before. This time I was asked to restore a custom key for a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. As far as I understand, such blanks are not sold anywhere, and making a copy of this key is not so easy. The working part is very severely damaged, as if someone tried to open the wrong lock with this key. Also, judging by the traces of white solder, this key has already been repaired. Without going into too much detail regarding the so-called blade's cut, I set about straightening the bent edges of the key using special tools, but I was hindered from properly straightening the geometry by the stub sticking out inside. To properly perform this task, I wanted to disassemble the key. However, it wasn't entirely clear what the blank was made of and what this black coating was. The solder connecting the parts, by its color and viscosity, looked a lot like tin. Since I had the opportunity, I decided to check it on a spectral analyzer just in case. As I suspected, it turned out to be a brass blank soldered with a tin lead solder. To disassemble this key, I just needed to heat it up to 300 degrees. After pre-treating the heating point with soldering acid, I carefully heated the key with a torch, constantly checking the temperature with a pyrometer. Having disassembled the key into parts, I waited for it to cool down and measured the inner diameter of the small barrel to select equipment for straightening the deformation. Now, not to complicate things, I decided to solder the entire cut with a laser. I took a brass wire and step by step, hole by hole, welded around the blank, trying to build up as much thickness as possible. Looking back now, I understand that it would have been much easier to make this small barrel anew because the buildup was not uniform everywhere, and the blank itself was porous in places. Therefore, I had to curl the surface into loops and overlay it again. After building up a fairly thick layer of metal, I hammered the blank on the mandrels to remove excess thickness and work harden the metal, giving it rigidity. Then I leveled the surface with a file, being careful not to grind off too much since the blank was already thinner than the original. Then I carefully sanded with different grit sandpapers inside and outside. I cleaned the soldering point on the key and at the same time polished the remaining surface to slightly freshen up its appearance. Now, to make the coated blade cut, I connect the small barrel of the blank with the original key using super glue. I let it dry and carefully, using a scribe, marked the width of the grooves. I already saw that the grooves were cut symmetrically there.
Subscribe to the channel and watch the next part.